Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum
Welcome.
salam. How are you, Safiya?
Alhamdulillah. How are you, Angela? Welcome to the Wellness Show with Angela and Safiya. This is a new episode, a new show with Hamza Jonce George, who is a mobility expert. We're going to talk a little bit more about what he does in a minute, but I'm just catching up with Angela because she is still in Canada. So Hamza is living in Oxford and I'm in Manchester. So we are basically doing like this three-way on Zoom. So we're hoping that the sound is good. And we're going to pre-record this show to make it easier and clearer for everyone, inshallah. So, Angela, everything okay on the other side of the pond?
Very nice. The weather has not been exactly wonderful, so it's not going to want me to stay.
Oh, I'm happy. I want you back here. I want you back here in the studio. I really do miss you, but we have been busy. We have been busy, haven't we? So I'm going to introduce Jonce. He likes to be called Jonce. It's kind of a short, and it's the name that he's known by most. But he happens to be let me get that right, my husband's younger sister's husband, if you got that. Basically short, my brother-in-law. But Angela, as you know Hamza Jonce as well, and you know how much of a mentor he's been for me over the years, mashallah. He doesn't like it, but
he's very modest.
He's very modest, mashallah. But to be honest, I have learned so much from him from the moment he entered the family over 10 years ago, now 12 years ago. And you remember, I don't know, when we started talking about taking vitamins. I'm not going to mention any brand, but like vitamins and supplements and kind of getting healthier. It was just this time when I was starting to get into things a bit more seriously for myself. And I talked to you about it, and that's how we struck our friendship as well. So there's a lot of blessings from knowing him, mashallah, because he introduced me to these vitamins and these ideas. And then after that, we talked a lot more about mobility, strengthening the body, because that's his expertise. And then I started Taekwondo, and then I got into Pilates, and I got him into Pilates. And so yes, there's been a lot going on. So in short, we're going to try and make it this short. This introduction is quite hard because he's got a list of certificates probably longer than my arm. So he says actually that he finds it difficult to define himself or to select a specific job title, which explains what he does, because he has, as I said, numerous qualifications, and he's always reviewing and upgrading his skills and knowledge. To be honest, I really struggle to keep up. And also a lot of these certificates have got really weird acronyms. I get them a bit confused. But one thing to be sure is that he's never stationary. So he's always been naturally into sport as a child, and he'll tell us more about his journey. He initially trained as a sports therapist and personal trainer, but he quickly realized that there was a lot missing, and that fitness as a goal on its own, without addressing problems with posture, quality of movement, and indeed nutrition, was very short-sighted and would lead to further health problems, injuries, and imbalances. And certainly I have experienced this in my sort of 10 years learning Taekwondo. So this lit a spark inside him and led to his infinite purpose of striving to find ways to help himself and others to function at their optimum potential. So some of the disqualifications he has, some of you listening might be familiar with those, I don't know, but the main one, obviously, the one he started with was this diploma in personal training and sports massage therapy. Then he also he became a certified functional range conditioning mobility specialist. He's a certified mat Pilates instructor. He also has a certification from the three-dimensional movement analysis and performance system by the Gray Institute. So I really will want to hear more about that, because that sounds fascinating. And very specifically as well, He's a foot and ankle specialist, again from the Gray Institute. So you would have thought, oh, just a foot and an ankle, but I think there is much more to it than meets the eye. He's also trained to teach kettlebell sports, lots of other things. But I think we shall stop here and listen to him, because you've heard enough of me, and we want to listen from Jonce. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam. Sorry, I was listening to your long introduction, and you know my face is, oh, you know what I'm like. Yeah, thank you for that nice intro. How are you guys?
We're good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. Excited to be here, you know. But I mean, first of all, I want to like congratulate you guys on your show, your excellent show. I think it's a really good thing that what you're doing. I think it's something that is needed out there, and I'm so happy to be here. Obviously, you've been doing it for a little while now, and I've listened to I won't say I've listened to all of your shows, but I've listened to some. I was there right from the beginning. So yeah, so just want to take this opportunity to say congratulations on your show.
Thank you.
Doing a good job.
Thank you very much. You're part inspiration, because we started doing the some recordings with you and Angela, us three, and sometimes just you and I, Hamza, where we were talking about different issues, mobility issues, and strength conditioning, etc. On another channel that you have set up, and we can put a link as well at the bottom of under our YouTube video audio, because we upload all of our shows on YouTube. For those who have not heard that before, you can always listen to us on YouTube at Wellness with Angela and Safiya. This is the name of our channel. So having said that, let's just go into not get straight into the conversation we want to have, which will be mainly about cardio and kind of finding out whether we really need cardio, what it is, and what it does. But first of all, I'd like you just to hear from your own voice a bit more about your journey. What led you to doing all this? You said you were always very active, but what was more in detail your progression?
Okay, that is a good question. Actually, I've never really thought too deeply about why I got into it. I do remember ending up on a sports therapy course, which was like for 3 months, and it was quite intense, and that required me to stop doing what I was doing. I think if I'm going back at the time, I was trying to change career, because I've always been, well, at that time I was doing a lot of driving, so I was looking into doing computers at that time, because computers was a thing to get into. And we're going back to the days, I'm not trying to say how old I am, but we're looking at Windows NT, if you guys are familiar with that. So that's how far back we was going back. And you know, it's them days that there was a lot of money going on in computers. It wasn't working out for me. You know, Microsoft had just released their Word and their Excel on that kind of package. I remember doing a course on that. And so it was a case of like, what else can I do? And I was always into my sports and stuff like that. You know, football was my main thing. You know, I'm like football mad, you know. You know, I support a team, I support Tottenham Hotspur. And, you know, for anyone who knows about football, you know, all the headache I've been through and all the heartache and it's like, you know, it's hard, you know. So football was my main thing. I didn't quite make it in football. I did loads of martial arts, you know. That's why we talk about taekwondo, because, you know, taekwondo is one of the things I did. One of my favorite things I loved that I did was like NBA boxing. And you know, just always been in stuff. And then obviously I did gym stuff. Do you know what I mean? I was like, go to the gym, you know. And you know, we had down here we had one of the like professional bodybuilders who was competing. He passed away recently. May Allah have mercy upon his soul. Competing with all the big boys who were talking like the top class. So I was part of that gym that he eventually took over. And so it was a natural thing to, what can I do? So I got into, looked up and found this course, which was like sports therapy course. And at that time, it was like one of the, like, you can't do a course like that anymore because they've changed things around now. Okay, so I'm a qualified sports therapist, but you can't really do a course like that anymore because everything's been changed up. Okay, so it's something that I have to my title, and a good friend of mine is always says, you know, you should always harp on or make note that people know that you are a sports therapist because you are a qualified sports therapist. So
Is that, sorry, that sport therapist, is it like a physiotherapist?
Yeah, so I was just about to say that it's not a physiotherapist, but it's you could say it's like a step down, or not quite a step down, but it's not far off. So it's getting into that way. Okay, so a lot of the courses that I do, which is some of the people, you know, coming from America, like there is some courses that you cannot be hands-on. You have to be what they call a professional to be hands-on, and that would be like a chiropractor, a physio, an osteopath. And you would know, Angela, especially being in Canada, because like for example, I've trained with the function range systems people, and it's chiropractor Andrea Spina from Canada, right there in Toronto, downtown Toronto is where their headquarters are. And in Canada, or North America as I like to call it, and you might tell me off now not to call it North America, and I've got to call it Canada, right? Okay, and in America itself, when you talk about a person who's a physio or a chiropractor or an osteopath, they're actually called doctors. Because over there, when you do your training, that you go to a level where you call a doctor. Whereas over here in the UK, if you're a physio, you're not classed as a doctor or physiotherapy. You're just a physio. Okay. But what I'm saying is that when you do some of these courses, which might be hands-on, unless you are a doctor or physio or chiropractor or physio, or even in this country where you're not a doctor, but you're still a physio, or you're a sports therapist, you cannot do some of these courses because you have to have that speciality to you. So because I'm a sports therapist, I can actually get on and do some of these courses to be hands-on. That's what I'm trying to tell you, like the difference between that qualification than say just someone who does massage, for example. But not to say massage is anything, you know.
No, but it shows the different level
Yes.
of certification, and it has
Yes.
basically what you're saying is that it has opened the doors for you to do certain courses afterwards.
In some courses I'm able to do them because I have that qualifications. Okay, but otherwise I wouldn't be able to do that course because I need to have that certain level of qualifications. Okay. So for example, in the FMS system, we have something called selective functional movement analysis, SFMA. Okay, you need to have that qualification to do that course. If I was just a personal trainer, theoretically I'm not supposed to do that course. Do you with me? Okay, so that's the level. Okay, but yeah, like you said, I did that, but then I got into straight away moved into doing Czech stuff, which is Paul Czech, which is spelled CHEK, which is, you know, if you go back in time, Paul Czech is like really big, and he still is big now. Do you know? But yeah, he was one of the first persons out there teaching stuff. So I got into Czech stuff. He would, some people would put him as the person who brought in Swiss ball training, you know, fit balls and all the rest of it, you know, so did all that. And then, you know, I've just, like you said, I'm never stop. I'm always at it, you know.
But yeah, I mean, that's what we're encouraged to do anyway in Islam, is to never stop learning and to seek knowledge from all parts, you know, parts of the world, and coming from different so I just have to tell you, if you hear some weird sound, it's Hamza moving around, because Hamza does not like to sit on a chair, and that is something we will talk about seriously. There's I remember you said not so long ago, someone was asking you, someone in the family was asking you, oh, I'll give you a simple piece of advice, and you said sit on the floor. And it was just very, very basic. And we're like, okay, yeah, okay, I see what you mean, because when you sit on the floor, obviously you do use a lot more of your muscles. But we'll get onto that a little bit more.
Yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah.
So basically, you like to learn, but what I've noticed as well, you like to teach, and you like to share that knowledge to other people. You really like to make sure that this not just stays for you and keep it for yourself. You always, you know, sharing, oh, I'm reading this and this new book, and look at that, and kind of musing on and analyzing your own thoughts with other people, which is very beneficial to people around you, because it makes you think constantly and reassess your own knowledge. So really enjoy that, I have to say.
The thing about when you mentioned that though, there is some things that sometimes I have to be careful, because sometimes I say things I'm thinking, gosh man, maybe I shouldn't have said that, because you know, that might be on a different level and I can't really express that. So sometimes I do say too much. I think that might be over people's heads. But if ever I say something, you just have to reel me back in and get me to like go into a bit more detail of it. Because especially in this day and age, you know, what with TikTok and all the rest of it going on. I mean, I don't have a TikTok account, but you know, my son does. You know, my little boy does, and you know, you get, and I know it's all coming to YouTube and Instagram and that now. You have these things on Facebook. You have things called Reels and all the rest of it. So you have short videos of 10 seconds, 15 seconds and stuff like that. So people want the small things, and you might have a bigger video which goes into more details, but people don't want that. They want this one fix and stuff like that. So sometimes we say things which is like generalist, but sometimes if it's too much, you know, you can reel me in and we can break it down, and you know, and make 60 TikTok videos out of a 1 hour lecture.
Yeah, Angela loves TikTok. Why do you love TikTok? Tell us.
Well, it depends where you go. Like the algorithm will bring up videos according to what they think is your interest. So there's a lot of people like Hamza, like who know so much, who are certified, and they take time out to make little like 1 minute to 3 minute videos on all sorts of topics, from mental health to physical advice like exercise, all kinds of cooking, anything you can think of, it's there. So it's amazing. And it's like I spend time like re-listening to the video, writing down notes so I can go and do research. So they really helped me to make me research more about something.
Yeah, this is a way, like, you know, it could be interesting for our listeners to understand. Sometimes we have like opinions about means of learning, but these are the sort of the modern ways, and you can just be mindless, really watching 1 minute silly videos of someone pranking someone else and just like flicking from one to the other just for distraction, or you can use it for a really, really good purpose, which is
very good
learning, and you can take notes.
It has a lot of educational stuff on it. So I really like it because it opened my mind up to stuff I didn't even know, or it was very obscure. Then you can go further and check more.
And I think it works well for people who have naturally, I'm not saying like little kids who've been, you know, sort of raised now to have short attention span, but like sometimes different ways of learning, you have shorter attention span. It's quite good to have like just a 1 to 3 minute video. It's short, sweet, and you focus to the point. And as you say, Hamza, you can then move on to research it further.
But again, you guys are talking about 1 to 3 minute videos or something like that. TikTok, we're talking 15 seconds. That's what these reels are about. It's not like a 1 to 3 minute video is actually like, let's just do the maths. What 4, 8, 12? You're talking like 12 TikTok videos.
No, TikTok is up to
or
up
even
to 1
longer.
minute. Yeah.
They allow you only 1 minute. They allow you 1 minute, but after you reach so many followers, then they give you 3 minutes.
Yeah, so you can have time to kind of go through some. Anyway, I think we're digressing a little bit more, but a little bit too much. But it just shows how change, you know, sometimes take a while. I remember my children tease me about it, how I used to be so reluctant for them to even use YouTube 10 years ago. 10, 12, 13 years ago. And now we're all using YouTube on a daily basis. It's such part of our life, and rightly so, because it's very useful, I have to say, to bring out all this important message. So after this introduction, shall we go into the meaty stuff? Angela and Hamza, we wanted to know, basically, Hamza, remember we had that conversation over Eid, which was about cardio, and it was specifically because I just exclaimed, I really need to get my fitness just a little bit better. I've not been moving much. I need to go to do a park run. Okay, I need to get started on park run. And you just laughed and say, but do you really need it, Safiya? So that's it. That's how we started. what, and we thought, okay, hold on a minute, even if I think that's the way, the door to fitness, cardio, running, jogging, even though I know from other sources that there's other ways to do this, then most people think that. So we thought, okay, let's have a show on cardio. What is cardio, Hamza? How do you define it?
Okay, so let's just rewind a little bit about why I was saying, you know, about because I said no park runs. You know what I mean? No, that's not saying park. That's not saying park run's not good. Okay, so let's just get that clear. Park running is a good thing. You know? And it's nice when I'm out going for a walk in the morning with my boy, and everyone's out there doing their local park run. Okay, so I think it's a great thing that's going on. Okay, but in your case, when we was talking about park run, we was also talking about strength training. So I mentioned that I grew up in the gym and I loved the gym and stuff like that. Okay. And we were saying that you needed to do more strength training. Okay. And then you talked about doing cardio, thinking doing parkrun, which is more about doing cardio. So I'm getting carried away already talking about cardio stuff and all that. But cardio is, can you remind me what your original question was again? Because I'm off again.
It's just very simply define what cardio.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about what cardio is. Okay. Let's break it down. Okay. So when we talk about cardio, really, we've already broken it down. Okay, because sometimes we don't like to get into the details, or we like to simplify stuff when really it's a complex thing. So cardio really is part of a two-word thing, which is cardiovascular. Okay, cardio on its own means the heart, and vascular means the blood vessels. So together, you're talking about the heart and the blood vessels, the circulatory system. Okay, so that's what cardiovascular is. But generally now in the fitness arena, a lot of us say, I need to do my cardio. So you're saying I need to do my heart.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the cardiovascular system about? You know, can I throw a question back on you? What is the cardiovascular system?
Well, it's all the system of the heart pumping the blood around the body to all the organs and muscles and extremities.
Right. Okay. So the purpose of the cardiovascular system, like you said, is to get oxygen and nutrients around the body.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's something to think about now. If I ask you to have an image, or ask you to draw an image of a cardiovascular system, without telling us right now, get this image in your mind. Okay. Don't let it out, but just have an image of what the cardiovascular system is. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Got that, Angela? Done it?
Done it.
Done it. So he's done it. Okay. So let me see if we're on the same page now. So when we think about the cardiovascular system, we're going to think about our heart. Okay. And then we're going to think of arteries and veins where all this blood gets pumped around the body.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
We're on the same page. Yeah, we're thinking the same way, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so as we said, the reason for that is because there has to be a system, a way to distribute oxygen and nutrients to the body. Okay. And when we talk about the body, we're talking about distributing it to cells. Okay. And we know that in the body there is 100 trillion cells. All right. Also, though, we also need to take waste products, byproducts from the cells back out the system. Okay. So, for example, when we're breathing in oxygen, and then we breathe out carbon dioxide. Okay. All right. So you guys you're in Heritage Radio, and that is up north, right? Up in Manchester, right?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And like you said, I'm from Oxford. Okay, so in terms of where we are in the country, you're up north somewhere, and I'm down south. Okay, everyone knows Oxford for Oxford University because we have the best university in the world, right? We all know, right?
Yeah, we know.
Right. So let's say now I want to come and visit you guys at Heritage Radio. Okay, so if you have the picture now, the picture is going to be that I'm going to get on a motorway. Okay, so in my case, it's going to be M40. I might do M6 coming up to you. So Manchester, the way, if you look at it as the way the country is set up, England, Manchester would be in a situation where it's like the heart of the country, because the heart is right up at the top in the chest area, whereas Oxford is more down south and one more down the bottom, right? Okay, so I have to come all the way up to see you guys where you are. So I'm going to get on a motorway. But before I can get on a motorway, I need to get from where I live, okay, which is I get in my car, which is parked up on a drive. I then drive off my drive onto a little road, okay, a little minor road, which then gets into another bigger road, onto another bigger road, which is a dual carriageway, which then takes me onto the M40, and then I'm onto this, like, there's 4 lanes and all these loads of cars and lorries and everything coming up, and I get to a point where there is a junction. I don't know what junction it is. I would need to come off to then get on other smaller roads to come to see you guys in Heritage Radio. All right?
Yeah, yeah.
When we have a picture of the cardiovascular system, we generally think of the heart and we think of the main arteries, okay, and the veins. But after that, there's all these smaller blood vessels which are called capillaries.
Yeah.
Okay, and the capillaries is where the nutrients ends up to then get exchanged to your cells in your body. And by the way, I'm probably say things and I probably get it all mixed up, but if you really want the real full explanation of this, check out Katie Bauman and her excellent book, Move Your DNA.
Right.
Okay, she will tell you the exact thing I'm saying, but much better. I'm going to put my spin on it. You know, she doesn't mention about Oxford being the best university. She's in America. She probably talk about Stanford or something like that, right? So where are we now? So we're into the capillaries, which is where the exchange happens, and they're really tiny blood vessels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they have to reach all these 100 trillion cells. Okay, and how do we get all the nutrients or the oxygen and the nutrients into those cells? Okay, it happens from muscular activity, which is, the word really is called vasodilation.
Mm-hmm. Which means basically that the veins or the capillaries are expanding. Dilation, they expand, and vaso.
It's how you get the exchange. So it's from the movement of the muscles, mechanical movements of the muscles, to get the nutrients out of the blood, out of the capillary beds into the cells and back forth. So you need to have an exchange mechanism for how that to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, back to that analogy. The analogy of coming to visit you guys is not just motorway. We need to have all these little roads that's going off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when we have this analogy of the cardiovascular system, really we think about a heart, okay, and it's pumping all of this like blood all around the body. So no wonder we then shorten it to cardio, and we think about when we think about cardio, you want to strengthen your heart. We want to have a strong heart, because a heart has to pump to all of these 100 trillion cells. I mean, you know, people go out and they do running and again, I'm not running. They do all this cardio and they cardio. I'm surprised they go to sleep, because if you need to strengthen your heart to get it to all of these muscles across the body, the heart needs to be like fully strong. And we know the heart never sleeps, right? Okay. But what I'm trying to get at here is, because my thing is all about movement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I just said that the way we're going to exchange nutrients into the cells is through mechanical stimulation. I didn't say that word stimulation, but there needs to be a stimulation that gets the nutrients into the blood vessels. Okay, so all of these movements. So if I'm talking to you, and if your listeners was able to see me, I'm moving my hands around. You know, I get quite excited. Okay. And that movement around is causing vasodilation, you know, stimulus to get into all of the cells, into my hands, my fingers. Okay. If I'm just holding on to a cross trainer and I'm just going up and down, doing my cardio. Okay.
So you mean like with a fixed position for the hand, for instance?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Okay. There is a difference between moving my fingers around than just holding it steady.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get across to you guys how the cardiovascular system is not just a simple. It's not just as simple as saying the heart pumping blood through these like main arteries to get to the body. It's a lot more complex.
So you basically mean that it's the heart cannot do this on its own just by pumping.
That is only part of the story.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot more to it, which is of all these muscles that has to do all of the stimulation to get the nutrients in. Okay, so we need to have movement. Okay, and cardio is movement. Okay, so if I went to the gym and I do cross trainer, if people are not familiar what cross training is, I'll get onto an Olympic trainer. You think about somebody who's got two handles, and then you have a stepper thing. So then I'm stepping with my leg up and down, but then my hands is also going back and forwards, right? Okay. And if you look at that movement, okay, and again, you have to pull me up on things, but I'm just going to talk and then you pull me up on things. That movement is what we would call mostly a sagittal plane movement.
It's basically everything goes in front of you, like aligned with your body in front.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you just think like we're doing it in a straight line, we're just going forwards and backwards, you know, what we'd call flexion, extension, forwards and backwards. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. But, and as we'll, again, you have to pull me up on this. As we talk, the body itself actually moves in three-dimensional. It's we move in 3 dimensions. So there's sagittal plane, there is frontal plane, and there is what we call transverse plane, which is rotational movement. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So should we break that down right now and then we come back? Because
go ahead. Yeah.
I think you have to keep me on track because I will just.
No, that's fine. We're just listening.
Okay.
We're just listening. It's fascinating.
Okay, so when we talk about the movement, generally we talk about the body moves in 3-dimensional. What that really means is there are 3 planes of motion, okay? The first one is the sagittal plane. So if you take your head and you nod it, okay, so you bring your chin down and you go up, okay? And if I'm looking at you from the side, I will see your neck going forwards, and we will call that flexion. And then when it goes backwards, that would be extension, okay? But you need to be looking at me from the side to see the sagittal plane movement.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a flexion extension generally. Okay, now when we look at the frontal plane movement, we're looking at side to side. Okay, so for that you need to be looking at me from the front or from the back, and you see me, for example, if I'm moving my upper body and I would laterally tilt to my right. Okay, we call that right lateral flexion, and then if I go to the left, we call that left lateral flexion. That's called a frontal plane movement.
Yeah.
Okay, like you raising your arms up to the side and down, what we call lateral raises if I'm in the gym.
Yeah.
Example, okay? Frontal plane. Now we look at transverse plane, or rotational plane, which really you want to look from the top or from the bottom. So this is where the body's moving in a rotational plane. So we're looking at the neck now, getting back to the neck, we're looking at turning around to the side, to the right, to look over my right shoulder, or I'm turning around to look over my left shoulder. That is the rotational plane. Okay? And every joint of the body moves in 3 planes of motion. Okay, so even though I'm doing a sagittal plane movement, which is more predominantly, I'm talking about getting back to that cardio, that elliptic trainer, it's predominantly sagittal plane, but there is still going to be elements of rotational and frontal plane happening in our joints. Okay. But so if all you did was that though, right, okay, there's a lot more movements available to the body. I'm sure, Safiya, because you like cars, you probably pulled me up on something called CARS, which is controlled articular rotations, okay, and why we do that, okay, and we can talk about other stuff. You mentioned about 3-dimensional movement analysis, which we call 3D maps. That's what I'm talking about, 3-dimensional stuff. Okay, so we have all these movements available to us in our body. Okay, and if we just limit it to predominantly one plane of motion, okay, and the reason why we break it down into sagittal, frontal, and transverse is to make it easy for us to understand. Okay, so if all I did was just drive up and down the motorway, okay, you know, like, you know, I'm coming up to see you guys. If I'm coming up to have this interview with you in your studio, and I say, right, I'm on the motorway, I'm on the M40, I'm now on the M6, you know, I mean, I'm at Manchester, and you say, well, yeah, you need to come off of the M6. Right, okay. I'm saying, no. I'm going to
go on the roundabout and come back down.
You know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, I have been up to your guys where I do get kind of, it is complex because, like, after the M6, you have all these motorways, and they get into double figures. Then it's like a 60 and a 62 and a 50. Is it?
No, it's like a lens. It's the M602. Yeah. So
and then it gets to three
it's still a
figures.
motorway, but it gets smaller.
No, so that in itself is complex. Do you see what I mean?
I just wanted to say that whatever you're saying now, explaining the cardiovascular system, is coming closer to explaining to me, even though I'm a nutritionist, I still want more technical details about how you don't lose weight when you exercise, but it increases your metabolism. And the way you're explaining it is coming closer to feeding that background of how that happens.
Yeah. With
muscles and such, and capillaries and everything that need muscles.
Yes, because again, so that's I'm really glad you said that, and I'm glad it's benefiting you. Okay, it's not too bad then when I say things then, Safiya.
No. Sometimes you just don't know how it will reach, like who it will reach. So keep going.
Yeah. So coming back to that, okay, and I'm glad you brought that up, Angela. When coming back to this vasodilation now, okay, sometimes we need to look at things and then reverse engineer it. Okay, so let's just say, like, because this is interesting. I was talking to Aisha, my wife, about cardiovascular, and she said something, right? Okay, and you know, Aisha, she's not like me. It's like like we spend all the time about movement. I mean, I spend all my time about movement. Aisha spends all the time about health. Do you know what I mean? Okay, looking up stuff and all of that, right? Okay. And I said, oh, cardiovascular. I said, what is this? She said, everything is cardiovascular, she said. It's like amazing what she said. I said, what do you mean everything? She says, everything is cardiovascular. Do you know what I mean? Okay. You know, when I'm standing up doing the wash-up, she says that's cardiovascular. You know, when I'm doing the ironing, it's cardiovascular. When I'm doing the gardening, it's cardiovascular. And I thought, wow, that is like, you know, she just hit it on the head, right? Okay. So coming back to vasodilation, okay, which is getting all the nutrients out of the capillary into the cells. Okay, and Katie Bauman describes that every cell is within I can't remember the word she uses, but basically it's in 7 hair lengths of capillary. Okay, so that's how close the cells are to a capillary, right? Okay, so if you need mechanical stimulation to get it into your into the cells, if you reverse engineer that means that you need to be doing all of these intricate little movements. Do you know what I mean? To get things happening. Do you know what I mean? You know, moving your fingers. I'm there moving my fingers again to show that the intricate movements that you need to get into your cells. You know, just having a closed fist might mean that it's. I mean, this is not true. Exactly perfect, but it might mean that the blood only reaches as far as my wrist, but it can't reach as far as to the fingers because there's no movement going on.
Yeah. There is always a bit of blood, obviously, but I know what you mean. It's like the stimulation will not be as great.
Yes. Okay. So then when you think about this is what my goal is to get all of this, to get this exchange going, you would then think to yourself, I need to do every movement I can, move my joints in all sorts of ways to stimulate them. To, you know, so if we're talking about getting nutrients into the joints, which by the way, when we talk about cardiovascular system, they do not have a blood supply like other parts of the body into your joints. Okay, so in terms of we want to get nutrients into our joints, we kind of have no choice but to do movement to get nutrients into our joints. It needs movement, okay, because the joints do not have a blood supply like other parts of the body. Okay, so we need to get nutrients into our joints. How do we do that? We need to do movement.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I was chatting for about half an hour there.
We want to have it for a long time, so don't even think about time. Just get on with it. It's perfect because these are, you know, our listeners. Some of them, some of you who are listening to us right now, you might be very familiar with this. It may be because you're a doctor, maybe because you have looked into these things, maybe because, you have more knowledge. But a lot of people, even I, you know, who have been studying this, or my Pilates class, etc. But to hear it in such kind of practical terms and your analogies, I find them very visually very helpful. To really understand and what's important for me and for everyone around me to be more healthy, have healthier joints and healthier body generally, that a body that works and that feels stronger.
So that just reminds me again, and saying like we're talking about cardiovascular, and have we given this a title? Did we call it like? Did you say something like, "Do we need to do cardiovascular? Is it important?" Did you say something along those lines?
Yes, that's the theme of today.
Okay, so cardiovascular is important. Okay, all movement is important. I'm into my movement, so all movements is important. So we won't say one movement is better than the other. Okay. I was talking to someone recently, and they were saying that they had back pain. And I said to them, they said to me, "I go to the gym." And I said, "What do you do in the gym?" And they said, "Well, I go in and I go on the cross trainer, which is that elliptic trainer I told you. That's what the cross trainer is. They do the treadmill, they do the rowing machine." Now the rowing machine, which is the concept two rowing machine, my favorite cardio machine, piece of machine. I love it. Okay, so that's just rowing. Okay, but I would also say I would need to see you rowing, because a lot of people, when you see them rowing, they don't look so elegant, and
Yes.
you need to look elegant. Okay,
Definitely.
Okay.
And this is actually a good time, Angela, isn't it, to mention a little bit our disclaimer, Angela. We have a disclaimer.
Our disclaimer is you have to, before you do anything, start a new routine or change your diet, talk to your health professional.
Yeah, we are not doctors. Even Hamza there, he's not a doctor. So if there's anything that we mentioned today that you'd like to implement, please make sure you are able to do it and talk to a professional about it, healthcare professional or a sports specialist in your gym or something. Don't just jump onto a machine and or go into the nearest park run and start running, and then you've had issues that you were not aware of. Do a little bit of a check before.
Okay, cool. So it was described to me that yes, cross trainer, treadmill, rowing, and then I think we got into maybe some strength stuff on machines. Okay, but you see how cardio dominant that actual program itself is. Okay, and I said, well, you need to do more strength training, you need to do more free weights. Okay, so that way your body can move in, has more options to move in more three-dimensionally, as opposed to be getting fixated into one pattern of movement. Okay, and by that you're going to get more stimulus, more nutrients going into your body. Okay, and no, surprise, one of my biggest advice to her was sit on the floor. She said, "Sit on the floor." I says, "Yeah." I says, so what do you do for a job? Okay. She said, "Well, how do you spend your day?" I spend my day sitting a lot. Okay. And then what do you do at home? What do you do when you're at home? How do you spend your time at home when you're watching TV or anything? I sit on a chair. Okay. And you drive to work? Yes, I drive to work. And if you go to the gym, and I didn't mention the bike, so you go on the bike as well. You're sitting down, and I says, you need to go on the floor, okay? Because what I said to her is, and this is about coming to the movement now, and I've drifted to back pain, but we can come back to the cardio. Is that by you not going down to the floor, you're not utilizing your body in its full range of motion.
Yeah.
Okay. You've gone from standing up, and then you're going down halfway and back up standing up. Okay. So I'll just park that for the side, and we'll come back to that. Okay. But coming back to the cardio now, cardio is important. We should all do cardio. Okay, cardiovascular, but we need to understand that everything is cardiovascular. So if I'm doing strength training, my heart is still working. I'm working different parts of my body. I might be doing, because I love doing kettlebell. So it requires all sorts of movements to do that. Okay, so that is cardio itself as well. You can do what we call strength endurance. Okay, so it's not just slow training; it's like fast movement. That is cardio, strength endurance. You know,
I
that
mean,
is cardio.
yeah, something I've noticed, and we know from Taekwondo that when we are told to practice our stretching, we're not really moving a lot. Okay, we are going into a box split, into a front split, or whatever. But the heart just pumps probably more than any other sort of running around or jumping or kicking we've been doing before, because it has to get so much more nutrients to those big muscles that have a lot of fiber. So let's just not even like going into the little extremities. Even just to do that, just a little box split will get your heart going. So yeah, you feel like you think you have a lot of you have to run around a lot or something, but no, actually, yeah, actually this, you know, you don't have to.
I have the same experience when I do the program I always tell you about by DDP, Diamond Dallas Page. He does, it's not your mama's yoga. So it's videos, a series of, you know, and you can be standing, and he makes people wear a heart monitor. And he demonstrates how your heart can increase your heart rate just by doing certain kinds of movements. And it's amazing. And it does, you don't have to strain your joints if you have weight issues to get your heart pumping. So that just breaks down that idea that you don't need to be jumping around to get your heart pumping.
Yeah. Which
is very helpful, because that gives more people the opportunity to think, okay, I can exercise too. I don't have to be jumping around. If you can't, you can still benefit.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So so all in all, I think what could we conclude on cardio? I mean, if someone was like, okay, I came to you, and yes, it was as part of the conversation when I said that I wanted to feel stronger, but I think I was sidetracked as well by another desire to feel like I could develop my endurance capacity. Something that we've not mentioned, but that's also quite technical, but people can look it up. It's quite interesting to find out about this, is the fast twitch and slow twitch muscles. And the fast, you know, the fibers. So you have, for certain movements, you need fast twitch muscle. You use the fast twitch muscles, which is explosive, really, all of a sudden you've got to run or you've got to jump or something. So you use those muscles. And then the slow twitch muscles are the ones that you use for endurance movement. So for instance, you've got to walk, you're going to do about your shopping, and you go around moving in your shopping center or in the city or whatever, and then you use the slower twitch muscles, because these are the ones that have got a lot of endurance. They're not very fast. They don't like give you fast movement, but they can go on and on and on and on and on for a long time. But there's also an idea that some people have developed more fast twitch muscles and others have developed more slow twitch muscles. And people, basically, it's the idea of you have people who are more into endurance and they can run for a long time, and other people who are just happy to and happier to perform better if they just run for really, really fast, over 100, 200, 400 meters, or like me, explosive sports like Taekwondo, where you just push yourself for maybe 2 minutes and then you get a break, and again you push yourself for, you know. So I don't know if you want to comment on that at all, Hamza.
Yes, that's another good point. And there's so many points that I think we need to be recording for and talking for about 2 days or 2 years. And that's a good way to look at it, actually, because while you was talking, I was just thinking about what I do, or one of the things I do, or some of the things I do, and I do a lot of walking. You know, I like my walking, and I've really got into doing a lot of walking. And I think the good way to look at things is if you put cardio aside and you was just focus on fast twitch and slow twitch, and the way you describe it was like spot on. Okay, you would say that you know, when you're doing cardio, you're working more the slow twitch, and when you're doing like more strength training, you're working the fast twitch. Okay, and we are made up of both of those. Okay, but if we really want to get into specifics, we can say a female might have more slow twitch than the male who have a lot more fast twitch, which then comes down to like the men are the ones who you know, would be more like pushing that car when you need that car. The car breaks down, so the wife says to the man, you know, you jump out, push the car, dear, because you know I have a lot of slow twitch and you got a lot of fast twitch. So you get out and push it, and I'll sit behind the steering wheel, and I'll do the jump, and I'll you know, we'll jump start it this way, right? Okay, all right. And then when we get home now, after we've, you know, the car's broken down, but we got it going again, we get home now, and then the wife says, darling, you know, I'm a bit tired. Can you go on do the cooking? And the husband says, no. You've got the slow twitch. I've got the fast twitch. So you got you got to do the cooking.
You go and stand
and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we think about that now, we won't get too much caught up into cardiovascular and strength. We'll just do all of it. Do you know what I mean? We will do our walking, we'll do our running, we will do our strength training, we'll do everything, and we'll cover all angles. But naturally, some people will favor one more than the other. So if you've got a predominance of slow twitch, you know, you might take into more become, you know, you like your cardio more. I mean, back in the day, and it's still now, but this is especially, I remember when I was doing my training back in training time, the in thing then times was talking about the three body types. So you talked about, if I can remember right now, you've got the endomorph, ectomorph, and mesomorph.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And so there was a lot of talk about the three body types. I don't know if you, Angela, you can remember that, because my mind is not going right. How can you break that down? Do you remember those? Can anybody? Or should I try and remember it?
Ectomorph is basically how it looks on the outside. Mesomorph on the inside, like the ectomorph. No, how it looks, right? So
it's like hourglass and or something.
The
like
mesomorph must be the hourglass, because it means in the middle.
I mean, we can all sort of look it up, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, the way you explain it is really good, because basically you have one that is thin, okay, and one that is at the other end of thin, and then one who's in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay,
middle.
So the one in the middle,
the mesomorph is the middle.
The mesomorph is the middle, okay, and I think I like to think like the ectomorph is the one who's thin, and the endomorph is the one who's the other side, okay. But then the mesomorph...
Endo means something inside, so you decide what that represents. Endo is something in.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then as the mesomorph in the middle can favor one more the other, or one or the other. Okay. So I tend to be more like I'm good at like strength training. Okay. So basically I go to the gym, I look at the weights, and I'll start putting on muscle. Right,
Mashallah.
Okay?
That's my favorite.
Right. Okay. And then you go to the gym and you see the other guy. Like I remember, like working in the gym, there was one guy and he was like very good at running. So we would have these like this kind of like strength type testing, right? Okay, and it'd be across the whole thing. So it'd be like run on the machine, do rowing, and a few other exercises. And there was one guy that was very good in so he would win overall, even though he did a lot of running, but the way the exercise, the test was set up, his weaker one might be like the rowing, okay? So someone like me would get on the rower, and because he's a lot more like power, and I can power it through, so I might overtake him on the rowing, but when he comes to the running, he would just like overtake me, because he was just like very good. You see what I mean? Okay, so it's just a mixture of all the things. It's a bit like Daley Thompson, or looking at is it the decathlon and stuff like that? You know, you have different types of people. Some 10 events, okay, or Jessica Innes, and you know the 7 events. Is it 7 heptathlon? You know, like she might be good at, you know, but you need to have you need to be, you know, across. Some of them are good at more types of events than others. Okay, yeah. So this is where we're getting at with back in my day, we were talking. People go, you talk about the slow twitch and the fast twitch, and you train accordingly. But basically, we all have those fibers within us, muscle fibers, and we should train them accordingly. But some people, you know, they like weights more, you know, and that's why the guys go to the gym and all they do is like straightly they do chest, you know, they pump up their chest and their biceps. Do you know what I mean? And the ladies go to the gym, and this is just generalization, by the way.
Yeah, because that's what I see when I go to the gym, and that's what puts me off from going to the gym. There's no space for women in the weight section, and there's mostly guys, and they overtake, and that's something I can't deal with. So I
But
don't go.
what's and you go to the gym and you see, the guys are in taking over other strength, and the ladies sometimes they migrate to, because you know when I worked in the gym, you know it's a case of trying to get the ladies off of those like machines where like you're closing your legs to work the inside of your legs, and then you open
Yeah,
it, because they're all about bums and tums, right? Okay, so they go on to the cardio, the classes, the bums and tums and all of that kind of stuff, the step classes, and the guys go into the gym, you know. And the thing is, we want to get the guys to go more to the classes and to get that side of the training going, and the ladies to come and do more of the strength training. So when Safiya, going back to Safiya now with her park run, is like, no, Safiya, you need to do strength training. Okay,
yes, she
I'm not
does.
having.
She already does enough of the other stuff.
Yes. Okay. And you know, we're not going to get into this, but there was a lady we was talking about who's written an excellent book, and she was basically saying to Safiya, stop going and do cardiovascular training. You need to start doing strength training.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's Dr. Tracy Sims in her book Roar, and we're actually going to talk about it in a future show very, very soon with one of our other female colleagues, inshallah. So definitely look out for that one, just specifically on female training, and female sort of morphology and metabolism, etc. Hormones as well. We'll talk a lot about hormones very, very soon, inshallah. Okay, so basically to conclude, I was wondering if you could tell us, so should we stop talking about cardio? Should we just then talk about what? I'm just going to do exercise, I'm going to do movement. What would you
But I think more, are you talking to him?
No, Angela, give me your opinion.
When I think what you're hearing, I'm hearing exercise. Most people assume cardiovascular exercises. Hardly anyone talks about weight training. The most important thing is weight training, because you need to increase your muscle mass and be able your body to lose, to burn what you eat. Otherwise it gets stored as fat. And if you don't have enough muscles, you are, don't want to say, a Canadian.
So Hamza, would you say that if we do a lot of cardio, so let's use that word in the way it's used commonly, which is doing a lot of cardio would be jogging, running, swimming, cycling, that sort of things, rowing. So if you do a lot of that, which is like repetitive over a long period of time, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, etc., more than that, 2 hours, 3 hours. So would you say that develops more kind of lean muscles, which are maybe sort of thinner and use, like Angela is looking to increase the size of muscles so that the metabolism works harder, and then maybe more weight loss is taking place, because we have to go down that route as well, talking about the benefits of exercise in general for weight loss.
Okay. Yep. Everything you said is yep. You can talk about it all that way. My main thing is that I think that we get too caught up in that way of talking and thinking, and that cardiovascular is a lot more than just to lose weight, and to whatever, you know. I'm more, and you guys, you know this from our personal interactions. I'm a lot more into health, and let's focus on the health, and the weight loss will happen.
So you mean basically weight loss is a byproduct of you being healthier?
Correct.
Yeah, and obesity is a symptom of a problem, not like a symptom. Like you're seeing obesity, there's a problem. It's not
a state, or
it's not like the way they describe it. If your body's not burning enough, that means there's several problems going on. like that they don't really necessarily tell you. They just give you the weight, like what's your weight. But even the doctors, they don't know. You have to go to a specialist, I don't know, some kind of health professional that knows how that can be reversed. And one of the things is to gain muscle to help you. And of course, you have to change what you eat, your diet. They go hand in hand. Unless you've been exercising. I noticed women who've been exercising when they were younger and they keep it up, they tend not to gain weight. Safiya, you're such an example. Like, we're the same age, right? But you've been exercising, as opposed to me. I've been playing at exercising. So you have been able to keep away weight gain, right? And it's a lot. It's I think that's what it is. You need to incorporate it into your life, keep your muscle mass at a certain level, and it helps you to stay healthier.
I think I'd just like to say that just in case our listeners are getting the wrong end of the stick, I've never been, but it shows as well, maybe it doesn't need much. I've never been like one of those to do 3-4 hours of exercise every day, like crazily, and it was my obsession. Not at all. But it's true. I suppose if I look back on things, even when the children were young, I was doing there was maybe about 10 years when I had the 4 children, where I was probably the least moving or active. But before that, when I was younger, I was doing horse riding more as a hobby. But again, it was movement, I suppose.
It's more than enough. But as you get older, you need to maintain something, which you are.
And then when the children were old enough, then we resumed sports activities. And again, I resumed horse riding, and then Taekwondo came in. I even did the belly dancing. And that was, in a safe environment, just with women. It's excellent movement. It takes you really all over. It's a bit like an Asian or Oriental version of aerobics, to be honest. Aerobics, remember we had in the 80s, which was like still going on, but a bit different. Other people do Zumba. Other people do basically it's just moving in a way that I guess I was always trying to do a little bit, and again, as you always mention, Angela, being careful over periods of time, being careful about what I eat in terms of not just eating every tons and tons of sugar and cakes and biscuits all day long. There would be periods where I would reduce that. I would go through phases of trying to shed the weight a little bit, especially in between different pregnancies, which is.
But I would argue that if you do exercise and you keep your muscle mass at a certain level, you can get away with a bit of going, having that extra biscuit, as opposed to people who don't have a lot of muscle mass, and as soon as they see a biscuit, they don't gain muscle.
Like Hamza looking at weight.
You gain fat right away before you even touch it.
So shall we conclude on cardio, Hamza, that basically cardio is everything we do. Cardiovascular is everything we do, but we should be less bogged down to the idea of I need to do cardio as in I need to strengthen just my heart by doing a repetitive exercise on a machine, whether it's a treadmill or elliptic machine or just jogging. We have to be more varied. Is that your message? We really have to be more varied in what we do.
So that is part of the message. That is a good message to send out. I just want to come back on what Angela was saying. I think what she said was spot on, because what we're really talking about is everything is complex. So let's use the word complex, and but what we tend to do is we want to simplify things, okay, make it simple, okay, and we do need to do that as well, okay, but we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that it is a complex thing. So what Angela just mentioned, all of those things is so important, okay? So we can't just nail it down to, oh, I'm just going to do cardiovascular exercise because I want to lose weight. I'm just going to go and do cardiovascular exercise. I mean, what Angela said was like, if you've always been that way, in terms of like you've always trained, you've grown up that way, this is how your life has been, right, okay? If you talk to someone who's always done that, and then you talk to someone who's never done that, right, okay? The person who's always exercised and has always been that way, they don't understand what someone who has never done that is going through when it comes to having to lose weight, right? Okay, for example, okay, so they might say just go and do cardio. The person has always done it, but that's easy said and done because you've always done it. Do you know what I mean? The person who's never been in that way hasn't done it. And then you talk about all the other things that's happened in life. Do you know what I mean? Okay, you can go on down the food avenue. You can go down to, you know, how it was with your parents, what you ate, you know, what how you was brought up, you know, what was going on. Do you know, like I spent probably about 7 or 8 years growing up in the Caribbean. Okay, I'm born in this country, but then I was brought up in the Caribbean, right? Okay, so that meant that I walked everywhere mostly because we didn't have car to go around. Okay, we didn't have car to go around. Okay, you know, if I was out and about, so, you know, like basically we had things around us. You know what I mean? Like we would go catch crayfish. Okay, for example, we would go like you know, we can go like go on pick mangoes, for example. You know, so we did a lot of stuff. So that part of my upbringing, okay, has a massive influence on me later on in life because it's like a foundation. Okay, compared to my I just say like I've got, you know, my 2 young boys, for example. Okay, they haven't been to the Caribbean yet. Okay, but you know what it would mean is like I would need to take them to the Caribbean at the age of about 2 or 3. Spend a couple of years with them, leave them there with some uncles and aunties, and come back to the UK, and they have to sort of like learn a life sort of thing, you know. So that makes a big difference in terms of my upbringing. Then when I was at school, I was always into sports. Okay, like I mentioned to you guys earlier on, you know, whether it's football, whether it's, you know, a bit of running, you know, at school I played football, I played cricket, I played basketball, I played volleyball, you know. When I got older, I went into the gym, I did martial arts, I did boxing, you know what I mean? Always carry that on. That's a lot different to someone who doesn't really like to do exercises. And I come across those types of people in terms of when I do my workings. I come across all types of people. So when it comes to them doing some sort of exercise to get themselves better, you know, I have to take a different approach. You see, because I can give someone a program, right? Because here's a program. Okay, do that. Now, if that person is what we'd call a professional, like a friend of mine who does martial arts, I do that, no problem. Do you know what I mean? He'll run with that. But give that to someone who like doesn't like to go to the gym, not interested in exercises. It's a different thing. So we have to bear in mind all of these things, and it's complex. So coming back to the cardio, you can't separate. Everything's connected. It's all complex. We can't draw a line underneath it. We can go on and talk about movement, which is my main thing, and we will still have to come into cardio because everything is cardiovascular.
And this is what I like what Angela was saying earlier, how reassuring it is and empowering it is to hear that for our listeners and anyone who's out there, you know, thinking I really would like to be fitter, have strong, and to not have to hear that you don't have to go crazy on something, you know, that is very intimidating or scary or even not even of interest. To be honest, I don't like running, and if I can avoid it, I will avoid it, especially not on long distance. So to hear that, you know, you can do other things, you can find this myriad type of exercise or movement. Let's call it movement. It sounds so much less like imposing and, oh, I've got to do exercise. No,
yes, exercise can be in negative terms, you know. So if we come away from exercise and just say movement, and if you think what the purpose of cardiovascular is to get nutrients into your body, and you think you need to have movements to do that, you will do running, you will do walking, you will do strength training, you will do yoga, you will do Pilates. Do you see what I mean? You will climb trees, you will go swimming.
Yeah.
Do you with me? You know, you will do gardening. You will get on the floor because it's so easy to do, and you will, you know, just getting up and down. Do you see what I mean? You know, you will, when you go shopping, you will park the car not right at the front of the shop. You know, you park right at the back, and you'll do walking. Do you know what I mean? Okay, you will take the stairs. You won't take the lift. Okay, and that comes back to another fundamental things where cardiovascular comes in as well. Is like we talk about what we do in our life. Okay. And this is where sitting comes in now. And they say sitting, we've all heard the terms that sitting is the new smoking. Okay.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't sit a lot. So then what happens is they say, don't sit a lot. So what then people do is they do standing. So they get a standing desk. Okay. But the problem isn't really sitting. Sitting by itself is not the problem. The problem is being stationary.
Or sitting on the chair. I guess the position when you're sitting on the chair with the back supported and the legs in that sort of square angle constantly, which
we can go into that. Yeah.
That you get weaker.
Yeah, but if you put that aside, okay, because we can get into that, but if you put that aside and say, if we look at sitting, one of the problems we say with sitting is that we are stationary. Okay,
that's the problem.
And if you're stationary, you're sat at the desk and you're stationary doing your work and say, oh, you're sitting too much, it's a new smoking. So what you do is you put a standing desk in and now you're standing. Are you moving more?
No.
You're still stationary. Do you see what I mean? Okay. So because you've been stationary, whether you're sitting or you're standing, you now think, oh, I need to get myself, because I'm, you know, and all I'm doing is I'm eating stuff, and I'm stationary. Now I need to get some weight off, and now I'm going to go and do some cardiovascular exercise. Do you know? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Whereas it should be you're eating good foods, okay, and you're not going to eat good foods all the time, okay, but you try to eat good foods, and then you need to do your movement to get those nutrients into your cells. So now you're thinking to yourself, I need to do movement. So if you had yourself one of the newer things now, the in things is having a desk which is more on the floor, and you're sitting down. Should we talk about, let's get into sitting, okay? Why do we go on about sitting, okay? Sitting on the floor, not sitting on a chair, sitting on a floor. Because Safiya, you just mentioned about sitting on a chair and about the position of your joints and about your back and all the rest of it, okay? Yeah. When we are, we spend 9 months in the tummy of our mothers, okay? And we're in a position of flexion, okay? So we quite like that position. It's a really nice position to be in, okay? If you're going to be scared, you get into this flex position. You know what I mean? If you hear a noise, you crouch, okay? It's a position of comfort, okay?
Yeah, the fetal position.
The fetal position, yeah? So then you're born into the world, and we spend a lot of time on the floor, don't we? But then we start learning how to climb, how to stand up by holding on to, pulling ourselves up. We're standing up, and then we become upright. Okay, so I've just done the whole thing from being a child to being standing upright, just like that. But it takes a lot longer, and there's a lot of things we go through. Okay, if we was to talk about muscles, and I don't want to really talk about muscles because there is over 600 muscles in the body. Okay, I'd rather talk about joints. There's less of them. Okay, and we can even then break that down and simplify to talk about the main joints. Okay, so we talk about the ankle complex. Okay, the foot and ankle joint. We could talk about the knee joint. We talk about the hips, the hip joint. We talk about the shoulder joints, and we got all the joints of our spine. I mean, even though our spine is just one, there's loads of joints in our spine. We've got the neck. Okay, we can get into the elbow and the wrist, the main joints of the body. I've already said about three-dimensional movement of how we can move three-dimensional. So if we take the main joints of the body, which is the ankle, knee, hip, the spine, the shoulder, just those we could call it those joints alone. We've got 66 motions that we can do alone. Okay, if you do the maths, okay, 3 motions per joint. Okay, you add them up, 66 vital motions that we can do. Okay, when we sit on the chair, we bend our hip more in a sagittal plane movement, even though there's always three-dimensional movement going, okay? But if you think about the muscle, and you were talking about, you might have mentioned the hip flexors. Did you mention the hip flexors, Safiya?
Oh, I didn't mention any name, but yeah.
You mentioned, okay. If we talk about a muscle going up the front of the body, just keep it simple, or tissues, let's just say tissues going up the front of the body. When we sit down, we bend that, and then our legs and the hips are bent at 90 degrees. Okay, that muscle now is being it's gone from standing, which is extended, fully lengthened.
Yeah.
To then we sit down to a chair, but it only gets shortened halfway. Okay, can you with me?
Yeah, so okay. 90 degrees, yeah, square ankle.
If you imagine if you then get down into a deep squat where you're sitting down right down on the floor. Now your hips is in a fully flexed position.
Yeah.
Okay. So we tend to say that when we sit in a chair, or the hip flexors get short, which is the muscles which is on the front of the body, okay, gets short. But really, is it really getting short? Because only if you get down into a deep squat does it really get shortened.
Yeah.
So we never ever really get into that position. Okay. It's like if I take my biceps now and I bend my elbow to 90 degrees, okay, and then I straighten my elbow so that my arm is right down by my side straightened, but I only bend it up 90 degrees. I'm not even bringing it all the way up to my shoulder. So that muscle is never going through its full range of motion. Okay. So we're not going to talk about muscle, we'll talk about tissue. So that joint is not going through its full range of motion. When I sit on the floor, I've gone from a standing position all the way down to the seated position. My joints now is going into more movements.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when I'm sitting in I get into deep squat, that's good. After a while, my body says, Hamza, I don't like you in that position. Can you change a bit? So I said, okay. So then I sit on the floor, I go cross-legged. Right. Okay. So and then I get into what's called a 90-90 position where I've got one leg in front of me. So my left leg is in front of me where my shin bone is like square. Right. Okay. Then I've got basically, like a Z position.
Yeah. Basically both legs bent to the same side.
Yes. Except in one hip, I've got external rotation. And then in the other hip, I've got internal rotation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
if I sit with my legs cross-legged, so we go in cross-legged position, I've got both legs in external rotation.
Made the opening,
my knee joint is flexed fully, but one knee joint is flexed more than the other, and that's why we favor crossing our legs one in front of the other. So it's a good idea to go to the side that you're not so favorable on. Okay, so then there's another position I can get into where I'm now stretching my legs all the way forwards. Okay, so now my knee is extended. Okay, but I might be pulling my toes back towards me. So now I'm getting full ankle, what we call dorsiflexion into my ankles. Okay, but my knee is fully flexed. But now I'm in that seated position as if I'm sitting on a chair in my hips. Okay, so now I'm thinking, oh, I'm not comfortable in that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep one leg straight, but I'm going to bend the other one into where I've got the knee actually bent, but my foot now is now pointed, which is what we call plantar flexion, and it's just on one side.
So basically, in just a few movements, you've taken like just your legs and your hips into lots of different positions, moved it, stretched it, opened it, closed it, twisted it, and that is just doing this, a few of those. That's quite impressive when you think about it. That's just from sitting on the floor.
Yeah, so I move myself all the way, okay? So coming back to that movement now of getting nutrients into our cells, okay? Do you think if you compared that to doing like just being on that Olympic, that cross trainer again, okay, which is very good for me, have I also benefited my cardiovascular system by doing these movements?
Yeah, obviously, because every movement involves the heart.
Right, okay, all right. Do I need to spend money, go to the gym to do that?
Yes, good question. Not really.
Right, okay. All right. So you could see how that basic position of just spending time on the floor, it's so good for us. Okay.
But when you say on the floor, do you mean actually in a squat position or just sitting flat on your bum?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Even
the position.
You keep moving, because what happens is you can't, after a while it becomes uncomfortable, and that's your body again saying it's time to move. Okay, so when you're sat on a chair, imagine sitting down watching Netflix and you got your popcorn and you're in a nice comfy sofa and you're all chilled out relaxing. Okay, there's no need to move. So now we're back to the problem we have is being static, stationary.
Right, so when there's too much support, basic external support, you're not encouraged to move.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we was just talking about what's happening in the legs. We're not talking about the upper body. We're not talking about how my body is flexing and how You know, having my body
Twisting.
flexing and bending, but with my joints in all those different positions is another position itself. So we can talk about the body flexing and extending, right? We can talk about that, yeah?
So yeah, so what I'd like to just interject a little bit here, just in case someone has joined us at the sort of halfway through or of our chat. We're talking to Hamza Jonce, who is a movement specialist. I'm sure you've gathered that. He's based in Oxford, and we're talking about movement, but as part of a cardiovascular system, where basically improving your heart just by moving in different ways. There's something interesting that I experienced myself when I converted to Islam. I could not bend my knees. So basically, when I started doing the prayers, I could not sit with my bent knees on the floor, you know, in between the rakat. After the sajda, I could not do that.
Mm-hmm. We call that Japanese style sitting. You're talking about when you're sitting completely on the legs, yeah?
Right, yes, exactly that. I could not do that. It was so uncomfortable. But obviously, when you do this 5 times a day times the number of rakats you have to do, plus at the end your tashahhud, okay? Eventually, after, I can't remember how long, but it didn't really take a long time, but say a few weeks of doing this, I could feel like my knees were getting stretchier. It was a little getting easier. I didn't need to have a cushion underneath to help me with the position. And the more I was doing it, eventually now I can sit on my knees fully fully bent quite a long time before I can feel the pins and needles, you know, and no need to move. And I've noticed that with my parents some time ago in France. We went, I can't remember where it was, maybe a picnic or something. And they don't always, my parents walk a lot, mashallah. They do a lot of walking, they do, and they bring the sandwich, and then they stop in the middle of the day. So they don't carry chairs or anything. But my mom said, oh, I'm just not used to sitting on the floor. I really don't like it. I don't know how to sit. And you can see she's very awkward. Like she can barely sit properly, even in a square position, you know, because she was a teacher, first of all. So my dad was working in a shop all his life, so constantly standing, very little sitting. And when they sit, she's kind of maybe reclining on the sofa, reading a book or watching TV. It's very, very, apart from at the table, dinner, you know. And so even sitting down on the floor is virtually impossible for her. And that really made me realize. So I mentioned this because our listeners might be like, oh, you know, I don't like sitting on the floor, apart from, you know, when you do your prayers. But remember, the more you do that with your body, the more your body get used to it. So you've got to be patient with yourself. Just persevere with any change. Angela's very good at telling this as well, about mindset and etc. Just persevere with any change you implement. Your body will get used to it. If it's a good change, obviously, your body will get used to it. Is that something you've experienced as well?
Is that directed to me?
Yeah, or Angela.
Well,
Angela, I know she has.
It's good that you mentioned that, actually, because let's talk about Islam. Okay, Alhamdulillah, you know, beautiful. Okay, you mentioned about the prayers and the barakah, the blessings in the prayers, right? Okay, but before I even get into that, let me ask you a question. Okay, which comes first? Okay, nutrition or movement?
Yeah, Angela.
Go on, Angela.
I think nutrition comes, but when you do nutrition as you're growing up, your movement is already there. You're already moving when you're a kid. You're not sitting still. So all you have to do is keep it up, have good nutrition, and keep moving. The problem is, as we get older, we stop moving. And yeah, nutrition is very, very important, but eventually you come to a standstill, because if you don't keep your movement up, your metabolism slows down and you lose your muscle mass. And even if you're eating good, you're still not moving well, and that just shows in your body. I mean, that's more complicated than that, but
everything's complex, right? Okay, so I just put you on the spot by asking you a chicken and egg story, right? Okay, so which one comes first, the chicken or the egg?
when you're little, like I noticed in my granddaughter, she moves a lot, mashallah. And as long as her parents give her healthy food, and then you keep that up, you'll be fine. But the problem is, as we go along, we stop moving, and it doesn't do anything until you hit 40 if you don't move.
So I actually believe, okay, and I know other people believe this as well. I believe that we were designed to move. Okay, the only reason we're here is for movement.
Exactly,
okay?
I believe
and
that too.
I believe that everything else supplements movement. Okay. So if we look at Islam now, and we could look at the 5 pillars. Okay. So I believe we're here now to there's a reason why we're here. Okay. And you know, there's a reason why we're all for men it's Abdullahs, and what's the female version of Abdullahs? Amatullah. Okay. So this is why there's a reason why, you know, our first name is
servants of Allah.
Our first name is Abdullah Amatullah, right? Okay. So how do you serve? You don't serve by just being stationary. Do you know what I mean? Okay. You serve but through movement. Okay. So you look at the 5 pillars. Okay. So you do shahada. Okay. So I'm pointing my finger, but you know, you do it verbally and you do shahada. Okay. What's the next thing you do? We do the 5 prayers, like you just said, Safiya. Is that correct? So we do shahada, you do the 5 prayers. Okay. And look at the beauty in that. Okay. Just being able to do 5 prayers, and it's not just do 5 prayers all at once. You know, sometimes we might have to be catching up, but they're spread across the whole day. Okay. And even within those 5 prayers, you can have, like, you know, extra prayers that you're doing your sunnahs, and you're doing this. And when you look at the prayers themselves, how you start from standing up, you raise your hands to go Allahu Akbar. Okay. That alone, a lot of people hardly ever get their arms up that high. Okay. They only ever move within this box. I remember when I did my stuff with Paul Check, he used to talk about, we have this window, like this little box that we only move into this little box. Think about sitting on your computer and you're moving. You know, people never really move high to pick up something off of a shelf. Okay. So in Islam, we do Allahu Akbar, we raise our arms. Okay. We fold it down. Then we bend into is it ruku when you go down, the next part when you go down? Okay. Is that ruku?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now we talk about nowadays, one of the big things has been going on for a while. You do kettlebell training, you're doing like swings. Okay, so what is a swing? A swing is what we call is a hip hinge. Okay, a hip hinge, to describe it for your listeners, is when you go down into ruku. That is hip hinging. Okay. And so that is related to doing something which is more or less we call a deadlift. Okay. Whereas a squat, okay, with a hip hinge, the knee is relatively straight. You might have a little flexion in it, but it's relatively straight, but you get flexion in the hips. Okay. When you do a squat, you get flexion in the hips and in the knee. Okay. So when you do a deadlift, you're bending down to pick up a weight, but the knee is a little bit bent, but not fully bent, but the hips are flexed. But when you do a squat, you get a full bend in the knee and a full bend in the hips. So we go down into ruku, okay? Then we come back up, and then we go down into sajda. Now we're going down into that full knee flexion, that full hip flexion, and then we go down into putting our face on the floor. Do you know what I mean? And we're on the floor. And then your feet, your ankle now, which was when you were sitting, going down into squat, was like dorsiflex. You get into that position that you said, Safiya, which I always think of it as the Japanese called Seiza style from my Aikido days, when you spent a lot of time in that. That used to be hard when I first started doing Aikido. And even then I'm young as well, right? You know, in my teens. But you've got the fully flexed part of the knee. You've got your legs, which is straight out behind you. That's called plantar flexion. And you're sat on it with all your weight.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? And so you do that in your prayers. You're moving around. That's movement. What's the third one? You're doing zakat, okay? No, you do Ramadan, okay? Ramadan itself is movement. You go to Taraweeh, you getting up in the middle of the night. You're doing, you know, it's not just about eating. There's so much going on in Ramadan.
Yeah.
Then you do zakat. Zakat doesn't mean like you just sit on your phone, you do your banking and all the rest of it. If you go back to the time of Prophet ﷺ, or you're doing zakat, you might have had to go on and count all your animals. Do you know what I mean? Then someone has to, if you're slaughtering any animals, that has to be distributed. So that's movement again. And then Hajj,
Yeah, loads of movement in Hajj.
You see what I mean? Okay.
Yeah.
Movement. So then you have your nutrition that supports that. I think one of the problems is that we've got it the other way around. Okay. We want to sit down, we want to eat, have what we want, and then we overdo it. And then we think, you know what? I need to go and burn some calories. So now we're going to go and do cardiovascular. Right, okay. Or you come and speak to me, I said, get some weight strength training in there as well. Now we're back into that story again. Okay. All right. Whereas really, if we're supporting movement, it should be that we're, that we're eating the food to support our movement, but it might be that we have it the other way around, where we're eating, and because we overdo it, okay, we then go and do more movement. I mean, we do because we need to burn some calories. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we should not worry. We should just make sure we do the movement that we're designed to do originally. Get that right. I think it depends on what you're what's your intention. If you want to be like a bodybuilder, if you want to be becoming really, really strong, or whether you do a particular sport and you need to increase that strength to be better at that sport, to be like the situation I'm in, or whether you want to do it because you want just your body to function better, or lose, as we say again, losing weight because you're just more active and you eat more healthily and you move around, your joints work better. It depends on your goal, isn't it? How much movement and how much extra thing you do.
Well, even that though, you're talking about taekwondo, you're talking about bodybuilding or weight training or whatever, okay? All of these things really, if you kept it really simple to begin with, okay, we were here for a purpose, which is to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have these 5 pillars, okay? All right, what do you do? So you're here to serve, okay? You need to have food on the table, so you need to go and get your food, okay? So we're not in the times where we have to go out and grow our own foods and tend to the animals, okay? I know we can get into paleo stuff and all the rest of it, but but if we had to do all of that, okay, then we do our prayers and all the rest of it, okay? Doing taekwondo and bodybuilding or whatever, right, okay, go on and play tennis or play golf or whatever, that's just a hobby now. Because, you know what I mean? If you kept to your 5 pillars as standard, then that keeps you, that should give you all your health things. You know what I mean? You would go to sleep on time, that you have to go to sleep at the right, and listen, we can talk again another. Sleep is massive. Sleep is probably the biggest thing.
We need another episode for that.
We had with you, but we already had an episode in the past. If anybody's interested, go on YouTube at Wellness with Angela and Safiya to listen to what we said about sleep.
So sleep is a massive area. But if you had one show on sleep, you haven't covered it. You need to have 100 shows on sleep, right? If you have one show on cardiovascular, you haven't covered it. You need to have 100 shows. If you have movement itself is like, So what I'm getting at again is, if we keep it simple, we're here to move. Really, we should be we're here to serve movement. So everything we're doing should be serving the movement. We need to recover. That's another which will come under the sleep cycle, right? Maybe we shouldn't call it sleep. We can call it recovery, for example. Okay.
Like exercise. Forget about calling it exercise or cardio. Calling it movement.
Movement is the thing. Okay. Of which taekwondo, bodybuilding, playing golf, playing tennis, they're all movements. Do you see what I mean? If you're sitting on the floor, you have to get up and down. That is movement. Do you see what I mean? Okay. You like I was saying earlier on, you go shopping, you park the car further away. It's movement. Nowadays, especially since pandemic, okay, I never have a trolley. I never used to have a trolley beforehand anyway. I always have bags in my hands. It does get complicated. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm walking around, I've got something underneath one armpit, nothing on another armpit. And I've even been in a situation where things have just fallen down because I'm carrying in too much. Do you see what I mean? Okay. But that's just another strategy where I'm trying to go to the shop and keep to my list and don't spend too much. But then you end up having to buy an extra bag and all the rest. That's another story. Do you see what I mean? But I think it's all about movement. If we keep it simple, keep it to the movement, I think the 5 pillars is a good example, gives us a good foundation. If you keep to that, everything else is just extra stuff. that you're doing. Do you know what I mean? All right.
I
But
think
it's all
also
there
because
for us.
nowadays we are so sedentary. We, with, as you said earlier, jobs, cars, public transport, sitting at a desk, etc. We have to find these sort of artificial ways of moving in ways that we would have moved maybe 200-300 years ago. A lot more of us would have done that. Even the very rich and of the time, the aristocrats, they used to every day go for walks, horse riding, etc. And the farmers would be tending to their crops and the animals, and then people in the city or the small villages, they would be doing trade, they would be building things and etc. So is it?
I want to leave you with something, or I want to get this in before we call it a day. We've been talking for, it's been really good, but I always say that when we talk or when we do something, if I do a presentation or something, I like to be more of an active thing. So I always like to give people things to do, and I think you guys do the same thing as well.
We like to end
Okay.
our show on tips, definitely.
Right. Okay. So I don't know if you reached the side to on tips yet, but because we can talk forever. Okay. But if you was to ask me the question, so how do we get more movement in our life?
Yeah.
I think we've already been talking about it. Okay. Everything, whether you're doing your cardio, whatever you're doing in your gym or whatever you do, keep doing it. Okay. However, you can always ask yourself is there more I can do? Okay. Is there more I can do? Okay.
Should we say more or different? Like
more,
someone who already
more
goes
and different, more and different.
Yeah.
Both of them, more and different. Okay. So if you do cardio, you can keep doing more cardio, and that will give you a benefit. If you lift weights, you can do a lot more weights, but that will give you a benefit. But you can also change it as well and do different stuff. Okay. I think one of the easiest things we can do, right, okay, is sit on the floor. Okay. Now, I say easy. I didn't say it's simple, but it's easy. There's a difference between simple and easy. So what I say to people is, give yourself all the support that you need to help you to get down on the floor. Okay, give yourself all the support you need to get down on the floor. Okay, give yourself all the support you need to get up off of the floor. Okay, and this is the one advice I'm going to give you, right? Okay, or one tip, but I'm going to leave it at that. But we're gonna expand on it. Okay, so use what you can to help you to get down on the floor. Okay, if you need to hold on to a chair, you need to hold on to a wall, you need to next to a sofa to get down onto the floor, you get down. If you need all different cushions to pad yourself up, you get down onto that, you pad yourself up. Okay, and what you'll find is the more you do it, the less of that you will need. Okay, and it will get better and better and better. So if you sit on a chair all day long, give yourself 1 minute, just sit on the floor. Do you see what I mean? Okay. You're doing your prayers. Okay. After you finish your prayers, spend an extra minute on the floor. Do you see what I mean? Okay. I'm sure a lot of people do that anyway. If you're going to read Quran, you have the little
stand, the little wooden stand.
You sit there and you read. Okay. One of the things I do, especially like at Fajr time, wake up for Fajr, alhamdulillah, is that when I finished my Fajr prayers, I would then start doing a wazifa, a zikr type thing. So I get my tasbih and I start doing my zikr. So I start off in deep squat, okay? And if deep squat is too much for me because my ankle does not have this flexion, I will put something underneath my heel to raise it up a bit. That makes it comfortable, okay? And I can just get into that deep squatted position, okay? So that could be a cushion, that could be, anything. You roll up a towel, you roll up and stuff like that. But then after a while, it gets too much. I then get into cross-legged position, and then I try to change it around. So if the right leg is at the front, I change it around to the other side. But then I start moving around again, moving around on my prayer mat and moving around, and I'm just doing my wazifa, okay? And so that's just something that is what is called stacking. So you want to stack your life. Okay, so take something that you already do and stack something else on top of it. So you're already on the prayer mat. doing your prayers, you don't have to do anything extra. You do not have to go to the gym to just spend an extra minute on that floor.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I advise as well in my Pilates clients, that, you know, if you want to do a little bit of extra movement, use a moment where you're already on the floor, i.e. when you've just done your prayer.
Well, Pilates is an excellent idea when we're talking about, you know, let's compare that to cardiovascular, whatever, okay? When we talk about Pilates, we're going to do Pilates because my back hurts, I want to get a stronger core, and I want to improve my core, whatever, my stability or whatever, okay? But what's one, based on what we've just been talking now, what's a great benefit of Pilates?
Yeah, strong
core.
But based on what I've just spent all my time talking about.
Oh, it's just
now.
movement in all
and being on the floor.
Being on the floor.
Being on the floor, yeah.
Being on the floor.
You won.
So
You won.
People go to Pilates. One of the best benefits of Pilates is they're forced to go on the floor.
Yeah.
They never spend any time on the floor.
And there's no equipment needed.
There's no equipment needed. They never spend any time on the floor. All of a sudden, they go to Pilates, and the instructor, which is Safiya, says, "I want you on the floor." Oh man, I have to go on the floor. Do you know what I mean? I've just been sitting on my chair and they get on the floor, and then Safiya starts saying to them, "Straight, lie on your back." Oh no, this is good. I love this. I could come to this all day long. So then all of a sudden, Safiya says, "Can you reach up and raise your leg and bring your arms up and hold it there and start flapping your arms?" Hey Safiya, this is hard now. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'd rather just lie down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I've gone from sitting on my chair, which I'm very you're telling me to go on the floor, which I'm not used to. But now you say to me, lying on my back, oh, that's all right, I can do that. But now you say, do this thing called 100 and flap my arms up and down. I mean, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the benefit is, one of the great benefits of Pilates is being on the floor.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. And I love it for that. Yeah. Definitely. And you know, as anything, you can take it through different stages. You don't, you know, some people it has to be done by first holding onto something, bending the knee, going on all four, and then being on the floor. Others, they can just go roll up and down, and that's or down, and that's it. They're on, you know, it really, you can take it whatever level you want it to be. So Hamza, it's just been absolutely exactly what Angela and I were expecting. Absolutely fascinating discussion.
We could talk for hours.
Obviously, some of it, you know, might be a little bit too technical for some of our listeners, but others, I'm sure, would you know, have enjoyed. And for those who find it a bit too technical, just don't worry about it. It's just exposure to new ideas, new ways of thinking. If some of the terms were not clear, please don't hesitate to send us an email, write a comment next time you see the video on wellness with Angela and Safiya on YouTube. Send us an email at info@heritage.org.uk, heritageradio.org.uk. If there's anything you wanted to find out about. Angela, do you have anything you want to conclude on?
No, I'm happy with his explanation of movement. Let's call it movement instead of exercise. And sitting on the floor, I'm going to implement that like that. No,
that was one thing I forgot to say, that I was told some time ago by a naturopath, Muslim naturopath. She said, do you know, when we sit on the floor to eat, it's not just because it's more humble or it's a tradition. When you sit on the floor, you, first of all, as you said, Hamza, you strengthen all your big muscles of the leg and the joints, etc. But also the movement of leaning forward to reach for your food and going back with your hand, like forward and backwards in that sitting position, massages the digestive system, gets your digestive system going.
That might help a lot of us who've been resisting sitting on the floor to eat because they've been told that you have to do it. And then you're thinking, well, no, I don't. But actually, it's a very good advice. Yeah. Even when using the bathroom, when they tell you to squat, that's better than the toilet.
Yes.
That's another topic.
Yes.
We should do a subject like that where we do the sunnahs and how they affect Physical health.
I would love that. Love a future show like this. And in actual fact, we're going to write this down. Wonderful idea. I think we should wrap up and conclude our show here. I hope both hope Angela and I. Angela is still in Canada, but only for a few more hours. After this show, she'll be back, inshallah, on English soil. I'm really looking forward to that. And Hamza, you are based in Oxford, and you can, if anyone's interested in finding out more about him, you can contact me, and I'll pass on your details. If you need to have any advice on movement, better movement, he's the man you need to go to, inshallah. And we are praying that you get more blessed time to learn more and come and teach us. And inshallah, we will have you back on this show very soon, I'm sure. Angela, you want to conclude?
We'll see you guys next week.
Inshallah.
Thank you very much for listening to our show. Please send any comments, positive or negative, to our radio show email.
Info.
But we'd rather hear positive info.
Yes.
Okay, at info at
heritageradio.org.
sorry, totally messing it up.
That's it. You're in Canada. You're lost there. It's info at heritageradio.org.uk.
Please send us positive feedback.
Yes, positive. That's what we want, inshallah. But if there's anything that you would like us to improve on, please do let us know as well.
Or any ideas for a future show as
well. Thank you very, very much, Hamza.
Thank you,
Jonce.
everyone. Yeah.
And we will have you back on at a later date, inshallah.
Thank you very much. Look forward to it, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.